Hello, friends. It's really good to see you today. I am Melissa, and I am a grieving mother. And I am grieving the horrendous loss of our two youngest children, Noah and Sophia. And I've been making my last several videos have been about the mental impact of grief. Videos before that were the emotional impact of grief. Today, I think, will be my last video on the mental side of my experience in grief. And then, after this video, I had been writing in my journal about my physical impact of my grief and what kind of goes on with me physically with my body. But, loss triggers old behaviors, really old, negative, addictive behaviors. And I have just really noticed that inside of myself these last 4 years. And, loss is painful. It's painful, friends. And the death of Noah and Sophia is excruciating. It is. It's excruciating, And there are things that happen in a person's life that have happened in my life that are so scorched into my memory and burned into my heart that there's no forgetting them. There is no forgetting them. There is no forgetting this night of horror and trauma that took place in our house on October 16th, 2017, in the middle of the night at 1 a.m. So, technically I guess that's the 17th, but whatever. Though that event is so burned into my heart that there is just no forgetting them. And so as a grieving mother, there's no forgetting them. And I imagine there's some memories, some things that's been so scorched into your memory that there's no forgetting them for you either. And we're getting to the point, we are at the point that we are really sick and tired of people telling us we need counseling and we need help, in the sense to forget, to move on. And that's impossible. That is impossible. Basically, we're just learning the life skill to stay afloat in this horrendous tsunami. Holding on to whatever random pieces that come floating by our way, just to hold on to for that moment, even within the 24-hour period. I believe child loss, it'll rattle most hearts. It'll just rattle it. I don't know how it doesn't, when your child is dead, and most of us, we are not immune to seeking relief in other areas that aren't healthy, whether it's drinking, drugging, sexing, fooding, shopping, swearing. None of us are immune to anything that we don't like about ourselves that have been an old behavior from years ago. And when you lose your child, sometimes that looks appealing to escape the moment, but it's a promise. It promises that we can seek refuge in those old negative behaviors, but they never ever possibly deliver. They just don't. I don't know if we'll ever get you to understand if you have not lost your own child, but the death of my two children, it is a monstrous, traumatic, heart-shattering experience. It's the most monstrous of them all. It is the most monstrous of them all. Yeah. To have a funeral for two of your children that are only ages 7 and 5. That is monstrous beyond words, And I just feel like now in these 4 years in grief that none of us can or should be making this grief journey alone. I look at my family and I just think, no, they shouldn't be doing this alone. I see other grieving mothers on social media And they don't have the luxury, the beautiful blessing of a community, of friends, of family, of people who will hold their hand and let them be as they be and just love on them where they are. I read messages where people don't check on people anymore. There's like a time frame in people's minds that, I don't know if that happens naturally, subconsciously, but there's somewhere, we just kind of check that off and you just move on because you have your own life and, our grief is uncomfortable. And I get that. We don't want to be in uncomfortable places. Nobody does. We want to be in comfortable surroundings. Who doesn't? I mean, come on. That's an easy one. But and honestly, I don't think any of us choose our uncomfortable situations either. We damn sure didn't choose this one, never would have chosen it and don't want it. But yet it's our reality and we have it. A wayward son, a son who's committed murder, a son who's in prison for 96 years. I mean, my goodness, hell yeah. Loss can trigger a mountain of self-hatred, especially if you've got a background already of like addiction or abuse or deprivation, being mistreated, but geez, I mean, come on, loss triggers a mountain of self-hatred. Okay, our hearts hunger for comfort and peace, perspective, hope. Our hearts are hungry for that. But grief is a process. It's a process, friends. It is a process, Excuse me, I got to step out of the camera and grab my drink. It's a process. And some of us grieving parents, we have suicidal thoughts in this process. And like grief is a process that we will walk through the rest of our natural earthly lives. I believe that, and so some of us, yes, have suicidal thoughts. Yes, we do. We think, I want to die too. We also think I can't live without my kids, even though we have other ones still alive. It's natural that thought kind of comes into our minds of the ones that have died. There is no hope for me here. I need to go and be with them. I want to die too. Those are thoughts that many grieving parents that we have. There's nothing for me here now. We parents, we just travel down this dark, 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 dark road in our grief. We do. I sure do. I sure do. And I believe this is not uncommon. And I've talked with other grieving parents, and they have their own personal dark road too. To say that we miss our children, it's a gross understatement. It's just really a very gross understatement. We see our child as a part of us. And I think most parents do. Okay. But sometimes we can go too far. And you know what? This is what I experience and deal with in my own parenting and always have, parenting for 24 years, separating myself from my children, especially as they become teenagers and are making their own choices very much on their own, completely outside of us and even outside of our influence, guidance, direction. Okay. So we deal with that already as natural parents, as parents getting with their kids, they are a part of us, they come from out of our bodies. We attach ourselves to them. But like I said, we sometimes go too far. And I don't even realize that I've gone too far until my child has gotten themselves into a whole lot of trouble. And then I realize I am not my child, and my child is not me. Okay? And we can cease to see where we end and where our child begins. Okay, so I feel like that those are things that I already experience and deal with and struggle with as parenting. So then when your child dies, and especially a small child, because we haven't really separated ourselves from the small child yet. Noah was 7, Sophia was 5. They weren't teenagers, and I had not separated myself from them yet. I still helped with so much of their daily lives, and so it it's painful. It's painful. And so I think it's natural and probably not uncommon that some of these suicidal thoughts came to my mind at the beginning, especially the first year. Um, our children they're not only crucial parts of our life, but they become our life, our meaning, and our purpose on this planet. They do. They really do, especially for those of us who take this mothering job extremely seriously, and I take it very seriously, and I probably see in areas where I might have taken it too far, especially when it comes to Malik, learning to separate myself from Malik, that I am not Malik and Malik is not me, but we do begin to live through them, and we can lose ourselves in the process, and so when our child dies, it's as if we die too. And so they were our life, and now our life is gone. Does that make sense? I'm trying to make sense of this, or put it into words. I don't think there is no making sense of this. I'm just trying to put into words what I'm experiencing, I guess. So we feel dead with no meaning, no purpose, and no hope. We do. We do. And all we can think about is being with them, no matter what that means or what it takes. We've lost any sense of ourself outside of them, or perhaps we never had much of a sense of a personal identity in life to begin with outside of our children. And that's even extra more dangerous and more depressing and more heartbreaking and wrenching when they die. It's like you realize, wow, my identity was extremely wrapped up in them. And maybe as it should have been, because they were only 5 and 7. But as they get older, we must learn to separate ourselves from them. Seems like. That word seems like, it's like an important and powerful phrase in grief. It seems like there's no hope, or that the pain is too great. It just seems like that, but God is showing me perception is not the same as truth. However, perception is reality for me, for the person involved. So there we go. There we go, Oh my gosh, there we go. So, yeah. The death of Noah and Sophia, it can fixate me on death instead of life. And it did definitely so that first year, So, yeah. I'm starting to figure out grieving is just the process of learning to adjust over time, to this unthinkable loss in God's healthiest way possible, for the sake of my other 2 children that live at home, for the sake of their lives and my life, my marriage. Though I can't see it, there is always hope. So though I can't see it, I do believe there is always hope. I love Noah. I love you. I love them. I love my Sophia girl. I still love them. And I find ways to pour out my love on them, in different ways, different moments, and honor their memory, by continuing to want to be a great mother for my other 2 children, the way I was always for all of them, equally so. And the death of Noah and Sophia, it pounds my heart and mind. Pounds it. Like at times I feel like it physically pounds it. know? So, yeah, so while I'm enduring this ugly, nasty roller coaster of all these emotions involved, I'm also deeply affected mentally, you know? I am. I'm deeply affected mentally. You know, I'm confused and frustrated. You know, I have memory gaps and I have trouble concentrating. You know, I have very tough, often very unanswerable questions. Yeah, that I live with unanswered, you know, and I feel like they assault me. You know, I just feel like sometimes I'll just be doing my own thing and then these unanswerable questions just come assaulting me, you know, demanding an answer that I can't give or I can't find. Yeah, you know, my mind spins. My mind is spinning, friends. So we need to take our wounded hearts seriously. Let me say that again. We need to take our wounded hearts seriously. And we need those that are intimately involved with us in our lives, in our relationships, even our bosses, our teachers, our neighbors. We need them to take our wounded hearts seriously too. Yeah. Yeah, we do. You know? So, in addition to all this heavy emotional and mental impact, the death of Noah and Sophia, it affects me physically as well. Like I said at the beginning, you know, my body is a big part of the grief equation. And your body is a big part of your grief equation too. It is. And I'll talk about more of those on my next video, you know. But yeah, I'm still stunned and I'm still shocked 4 years later. I am still stunned that Noah and Sophia are not living here anymore with us, that they are not here. I am. I'm still stunned my mother died a year ago. I'm still looking for her too. She lived with us for the last 3.5 years of her life. And I miss her presence in my home. I do, and I miss the presence of my children, and that's a gross understatement. That don't even do justice to the depth that I miss them. Oh, brothers and sisters, I hope you're encouraged by these videos. I hope you're encouraged. I hope that, and I pray that, you know, that you're not alone. As a grieving parent, you're not alone in this. I know you feel so alone, and rightfully so, because it's your loss, your child. But I believe we must do this together. I believe we must journey this grief road together. We are the only ones who really get it. We're the only ones who really get it. We are the only ones who understand. For example, that ridiculous commercial that comes on that drives you insane, that you just wish would just turn the F off. Like the dog humane commercials. You know, I love a good puppy. I hate animal abuse. Makes my stomach cringe when I see an animal not taken care of or malnutritioned or abused. Yes, I champion animal rights. But right now in my grief, I can't stand that commercial. I'm muting it. I talk over it. I am turning it. And it seems like the networks that I tend to watch, they just play that commercial over. I mean, every day I can count on that commercial. Every day I can count on that commercial and the St. Jude's Children's Hospital commercial. You can count on those two commercials like clockwork. And yeah, in my grief, it just does something with inside of me like, I know those poor damn dogs, but what about my children? What about my two children that were brutally murdered by their mentally ill brother who couldn't receive the help that he needed? So we're so worried about these animals. What about the people? What about those suffering with severe mental homicide ideation thoughts? So yeah, We need to stick together, grievers. We need to hold each other's hands and journey this road together, because we are really the only ones that get this thing. And sometimes we're trying so hard to get others to understand it, and that just ain't gonna always happen. That is just not gonna always happen. We're not God, and we can't change their hearts and minds. But we can speak our truth. We can speak our grief. Yes, we can. And it's on them if they receive this or not. It is on them if they choose to receive this within their hearts and be compassionate towards a community of people who are grieving the loss of someone significant in their life. Whether it be your child, your parent, your spouse, your best friend, your sister, your brother, your nana, your papa who raised you as their own. Yeah. This world is full of grievers, and we need to be more kind towards them. And us grievers, let's be extra kinder towards each other, because like I said, we get it. We get this road. We do. Unfortunately, we do. Well, brothers and sisters, be well today. God bless you. And I will see you on the next video, and we'll start talking about some physical impacts of our grief. Be well.